Hey guys, James Diamond here, and welcome back to the next episode of Trance Takeover here on Sonic Academy. In this episode, we're going to be expanding on the kind of foundation that we were working with last time in last episode. But this time we're going to go a little bit more kind of melodic, not too much, but we want to kind of up the ante on the way that the track is sounding in terms of trance-wise. Because right now we've just kind of got our kick in the bass, percussion, and all the effects. But it doesn't really have too much of that trancey vibe. So we're going to be working on acid, and what better way to give it that trancey vibe. Acids have been in trance tracks sort of dating back all the way to the start of its kind of inception, really. They're something that are very versatile. You know, they can be a backing sound, they can be a main kind of like ident of the track, or they can be used, you know, alongside main leads and plucks. They're really great. They're adding that kind of texture. And because there's so many different acids, honestly, it becomes a little bit overwhelming sometimes, and I try to keep it simple. I try to keep the acids as something that are there in the background, for me at least. Now, there's people, for example, Sean Tyas, who a lot of his stuff are very kind of acid-based, where big acid lines are, you know, running in the forefront, and they're an actual part of the track, which you on the dance floor is the kind of main intro drop section. You might get someone like Ali and Fila, who have got the kind of acid lines, those thin, kind of wispy, metallic-y, high-end acid lines that move around the spectrum and just kind of provide some atmosphere. And then we're going to kind of do what I would kind of say maybe more the kind of Giuseppe Ottaviani sound, at least from about 5-6 years ago, when he was doing these kind of nice rolling bass lines like we've got, and then the acids just kind of roll on top, and they are there to kind of enhance the bass line. This is really what we're going to be doing, enhancing the bass line with these acids. And we're going to be using two different acids. Of course, we're going to be using Anna. So if I open up the first one, and it's called Access Acids, and it's a really nice sound. It's that very much that classic kind of trancey kind of acid. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into the playlist, into the MIDI roll, and let's do something very simple like this. Pretty cool. Let's add on our sidechain, the ducking on the acid bus. So I've got the two acid channels set up. They go into an acid bus. Let's put that into the mix. Not much at the moment, really. Let's go ahead and add some EQ. Again, we've got a really good sound to start with. So what does that mean? Well, we only need to have a little bit of EQ. So let's do some low cut to get rid of the low end. To maybe add a little bit more of the low mid back in. That's sounding nice. Now, this is where the magic for me happens. I love putting delay on acids. It's just what makes it sound, the atmospheric sound that kind of bounces around. So let's go to ping pong. Let's use the high pass filter to take away the delay from the low end. And then let's change this to like a third sync. So both of those sound pretty cool. Let's just try it in the mix and see which one works better. I'm liking both of those, to be honest, so maybe let's just continue and see how it sounds once we get the other acid in, but let's keep it at the third time ratio at the moment, and then let's maybe come back to that. So we want to go one step further. It sounds pretty cool right now, but there's not much movement to it. It's doing the same kind of thing. The delay helps, but let's do the very classic thing where we automate the cutoff, and let's just check we're using the right one. That sounds good, and I really like these filters on Anna. They've got that incredibly nice analog sound to them. So let's just create an automation clip. Went up there for some reason. So just create an automation clip of the cutoff on the synth. Let's expand that. And then we just want to start from the bottom and just slowly go up and down like this. Let's just have a listen to that. So that's how we create that very classic kind of moving trancey acid that gives it a lot of different kind of vibes as the cutoff is opening and the resonance is working on it. And it got a little bit thin at the top. It kind of turned into that sawtoothy kind of sound. So let's maybe just bring that down slightly. That sounded really nice. Now let's check it out within the mix. Really, really cool. Now that's that sound in trance, right? That's giving it that real cool trancey vibe, especially with the way it moves up and down. You can imagine this as you're playing, as you're DJing, or even just listening at home or listening to a mix. This is the kind of sound that will just nicely pierce through everything else that's going on. It will just hit you, and you go, yes, that's the kind of sound that you like. So let's maybe just add a little bit of reverb onto that as well. I don't want to push it too far back in the mix. Now remember, when we add reverb, it's going to make things sound further back in the mix. The more reverb there is, the further back it is, the less the further forward. So I just want to add a little bit just to give it that slightly bit more atmosphere. That's sounding good. Let's get that back in the mix. Yeah, that's sounding good. And I just changed the time back down to the two times sync because that just kind of gives it that extra bit of movement as well. It's filling in those gaps a little bit nicer in between each kind of note here. So that's sounding really nice. On to the next one. So this one is called Bubbly Acid, and this is a very, very nice one as well. And let me just solo that. And for this one, it's already got an ARP in it itself. So the patch came with this ARP created, and it's a really, really nice one, and it kind of gives me that kind of old school vibe as well. So let's just go ahead and add this. And let's listen to that. So these kind of extra high notes at the top really giving that nice kind of feel. It's just giving that extra kind of bit of movement. There's a little bit of swing on there. Let's maybe take that down because I'm not really a big fan of that. Yeah, that's a bit nicer when it's a bit straighter like that. And let's get some EQ on. There's quite a lot of low end on this one, so let's take that all out. And again, really, really nice sound. There's a bit of delay on it as well. Let's just go and take that off the ping pong. Yeah, that's better. We want to have it nice and dry. And very nice sound, like I said, so just a bit of low ends taken off, maybe a bit more. But let's come back to that and just add a little bit of high end in there. And let's just see how that sounds without the other acids to begin with. It's sounding pretty nice, but I think let's just go ahead and open up the filter on this as well. That's sounding pretty good. Let's maybe just set up an automation for it to start, and then maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't, but let's just keep it in there because it's quite nice the way it sounds at the minute. So let's go ahead and put some delay on that as well. Again, same with the ping pong, pan it, high pass filter. We're going to go to a triplet time sync. Sounded nice. Let's try the 16th. Yeah, I think the 3 time sync is better. Yeah, that's working nicely. And now let's put them both together. Really lovely sound now with everything else. Yeah, that's sounding really good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take away all of the percussion because I know this is how we're going to start the track. So I just want to make sure that this is what it... So when you do the mix point after like 32 bars, when you're DJing and you have the mix point where you could mix in with all the sub and the bass and everything comes in, I know that I'm going to want to take away the percussion. So let's see how that sounds. So now let's try just automating this second acid very slightly as well. I'm also just going to take the MIDI and put it into the correct MIDI pattern. And let's just see how this sounds now. That's sounding really nice. Now maybe this is just at the end here. I really like doing this sometimes, just doing a very quick up and down on the filter. Yeah, that's sounding really nice. And maybe let's just drop it down even further. Sounding really cool indeed. Let's put that back in with everything else. Let's just take away the first acid as I feel that's a bit too loud at the minute. Let's just hear how this sounds. Really nice indeed. Now let's get the other acid back in there. Yep, sounding really nice. Just took down the first acid there. As it's getting a little bit too loud. Maybe we can come back to that later on when we come to the full final mix. I mean, we could, in fact, let's just go ahead and add our old friend, the Molotok. And let's just do a bit of compression because there's quite a lot of movement in this sound. What we can do is we can compress it so that the loudest parts of the movement just get kind of pulled down that a little bit. And also, because we're doing two at the same time, because there's a lot of movement going on, if any one of them spikes quite a lot because of the resonance and the delay that we've got going on, the compressor will catch it and just kind of bring it back down slightly. So I'm just going to do about a medium attack, a slow-ish release, and a 4.1 ratio, or 4.0.1. Yeah, that's sounding nice. If you could hear when I was bypassing it there, you could hear that the first acid was just kind of gelling a little bit more with the second acid, and we could physically see the needle kind of bouncing up and down when that first acid was hitting. And it's just helping to kind of glue these two together in a nice kind of way, and it has that kind of pumping sound, which is exactly what we want. So let's kind of listen back to how that sounds in the whole mix now. Yeah, that's sounding really, really nice. Loving the way that kind of moves around. Very, very simple indeed. Just two acids, and all we've done is just kind of played around with the cutoffs and add some delay, and instantly we've got that really cool, uplifting kind of trance vibe. That's all it is for this episode. Catch you in the next one. Cheers. Bye bye.